Hey everyone, and welcome back.
But Fantom, with its DAG structure and that asynchronous processing we talked about, protocol we were talking about really comes into play, enabling that asynchronous verification.
So it's like the bedrock. Makes sense. It's a pretty intuitive setup.
It is, right. And it's designed to make everything seamless. They want to make sure Fantom is a platform that's both developer-friendly and user-friendly.
That's a fantastic goal. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've got the Lachesis protocol, the Opera chain. What's next?
Well, there's one more piece of the Fantom puzzle we need to talk about, and this is where things get really interesting, especially from a technical perspective. It's the Fantom Ritual Machine, or FTM for short.
All right, bring on the FTM. What is it, and why is it such a big deal for Fantom?
The FTM is the engine that executes smart contracts on Fantom. But there's a twist. It's a register-based virtual machine. Now, that's different from some other platforms that use a stack-based approach.
Okay, I'm going to need you to give me a quick breakdown of register-based versus stack-based. What's the advantage of Fantom's choice?
Okay, so imagine you're working on a really complex math problem, right? And you have two choices. You can use a calculator with very limited memory that can only handle one operation at a time, or you can use a powerful computer with multiple processors that can work on many things simultaneously.
Okay, I'm guessing the calculator is like a stack-based VM, and the powerful computer is like the register-based FVM.
You got it. A register-based VM, like Fantom's FVM, is built for speed and efficiency. It can handle those multiple operations all at the same time, which means faster execution of smart contracts and lower fees.
So it's like they're using a supercharged engine for their smart contracts.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And get this also enhances security and something called Turing completeness.
Turing completeness. Okay, that sounds important. Break it down for me.
Basically, it means that the FTM can theoretically perform any calculation, no matter how complex. It's like having a computer that can run any software you throw at it.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. So Fantom isn't just fast, it's also incredibly versatile and secure.
It is, and that's all part of their plan to create a really robust dApp ecosystem that can compete with the very best in the industry. But there's one other essential element we can't forget about: security. How does Fantom protect itself from attacks and vulnerabilities?
That's a good point. Security is absolutely paramount, especially in the world of blockchain. So what measures does Fantom have in place?
Well, they use something called elliptic curve cryptography, or ECC, for secure data transmission.
Okay, and what is ECC? What does it do?
Think of it as an incredibly complex lock that only authorized users can open.
Gotcha. So that's one layer of protection. What else are they doing to ensure that security?
The Lachesis protocol itself is actually designed to prevent some of those most common blockchain attacks, like, say, Sybil attacks.
Sybil attacks. Refresh my memory on what those are.
That's where someone tries to manipulate the network by creating a bunch of fake identities. Or parasite chain attacks, where, a malicious chain tries to attach itself to the main chain to disrupt everything.
Oh yeah, those sound pretty scary. So how does Fantom counter those threats?
The DAG structure and that asynchronous verification of the Lachesis protocol we talked about make those attacks really difficult to pull off. It's like having a security system with multiple checks and balances.
Okay, so multiple layers of protection, kind of like a digital Fort Knox. That definitely gives me a sense of confidence.
Good.
So we've talked about the Lachesis protocol, the Opera chain, the FTM, Fantom security measures. It's pretty impressive, everything they've packed into this platform. But how about the user experience? How do people actually interact with Fantom?
That's where the Opera wallet comes in.
The Opera wallet.
It's the official wallet that's designed for interacting with the Fantom network.
Okay, so if I want to hold FTM tokens or use a dApp on Fantom, this is what I would need.
Exactly. And it's really easy to use. It has things like multi-address management and, of course, encryption to keep all your assets nice and secure. But what's really exciting is how the Opera chain can be used in real-world situations.
I'd love an example. How would, say, the food delivery industry use the Opera chain? You know, something we can all relate to.
Okay, so let's say you're ordering food through a delivery app built on the Opera chain. When you place your order, you use your Opera wallet to send FTM tokens to a smart contract.
Okay, I'm following you.
Think of the smart contract as a digital escrow agent. It securely holds the funds until your food arrives.
So it's like a secure middleman, making sure both the customer and the restaurant are protected.
You got it. Once the delivery driver confirms you've gotten your food, the smart contract automatically releases the payment to the restaurant.
No more waiting for the restaurant to process the payment. No more worrying about whether the driver will get paid on time.
Exactly. The whole transaction is automated, transparent, and secure. And if there's ever a dispute, say, the food never arrives, the smart contract can handle that too.
That is amazing. It's like removing all the friction from the food delivery process.
Exactly.
And I can imagine this being used in tons of other industries too.
Absolutely. That's just one example. The potential applications for Fantom are huge.
It's pretty incredible. This has been a super insightful conversation. Fantom is clearly a platform with so much to offer.
I think so too.
It's fast, scalable, secure, user-friendly, and designed for those real-world applications.
It is. And I think they've laid a strong foundation for what's to come.
Definitely.
But like any new technology, it's still early days for Fantom. It's going to be interesting to see how it evolves and finds its place in the ever-changing blockchain landscape. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we need to talk about milestones, the roadmap for Fantom's development. This is where we really see their vision for the future come to life.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into that roadmap. What are some of those key milestones and goals that Fantom has set for itself?
Their journey is divided into several stages, each marked by significant progress and new features. They've even given these stages unique names, which I think adds a bit of fun to the roadmap.
Oh, I love that. So tell me, what's that first stage on Fantom's roadmap?
It all starts with the inception phase.
Inception phase. That's fitting.
It is, isn't it? It's all about establishing that core infrastructure, laying the groundwork for the Opera chain.
So it's like building the foundation of a house before you start putting up the walls and the roof.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
This phase involved developing the Lachesis protocol, setting up that basic structure of the Opera chain, and creating the initial version of the Fantom virtual machine.
Wow, that sounds like a massive undertaking. So what comes after that inception phase?
Next up is the serious stage.
The serious stage.
Yeah, and it's aptly named because this is where things start to get really interesting. This stage is all about expanding what the Opera chain can do, refining that FEM, and getting the platform ready for real-world applications.
So it's like moving from the blueprint stage to actually constructing the house and getting it ready for people to live in.
Exactly. This is when they're developing smart contract tools, improving the Opera wallet, and attracting developers to come and build on Fantom.
It's about making sure Fantom's a platform that's ready for prime time.
Absolutely.
Okay, and
FTM is the fuel that powers the entire network. It's used for everything, from paying those transactions and more creative and impactful applications pop up in the next few years.
I'm already blown away by what we've learned.
our digital identities are often fragmented and vulnerable.
Yeah, it feels like we're constantly juggling passwords and worrying about data breaches. So how could Fantom make things better?
Fantom could be the foundation for a secure, self-sovereign digital identity system. You'd have a single, verifiable digital identity on the blockchain, and you'd be in control.
It would be like a digital passport that gives you access to all these different services, but without having to give up your privacy.
Exactly. You could use this digital ID to do things like verify your age, prove your credentials, access financial services, even vote, all while maintaining control over your personal data.
Okay, that is a game changer.
Yeah.
Especially in our increasingly digital world. It sounds like Fantom has the power to really empower individuals.
It really does. But like with any groundbreaking innovation, there are challenges and things to consider. We have to be realistic about the hurdles that Fantom might encounter along the way.
Right. It's not always going to be easy. What are some of those obstacles that could get in Fantom's way?
Well, one big challenge is adoption. The blockchain space is super competitive. New platforms are popping up all the time. So Fantom has to convince developers and users to choose their platform over the others.
It's about standing out and showing what makes them unique.
Exactly. It means building a strong community, giving developers great tools, and showcasing those real-world applications that actually solve problems.
It's about showing, not just telling.
Absolutely. And then there's regulatory uncertainty. The blockchain industry is still pretty young, and governments are still figuring out how to regulate it.
So it's like trying to build a house while the rules are constantly changing.
Exactly. And this uncertainty can make it tough for businesses and organizations to adopt blockchain, even if they see the potential.
I imagine that could really slow things down.
It can.
Right.
And of course, security is always a concern. Blockchain is generally secure, but no system is perfect. Fantom has to be vigilant about potential attacks, always investing in research and development to stay one step ahead.
It's an ongoing race to stay ahead of the bad guys.
It is, but despite all of that, I think Fantom has a lot going for it. They've got a unique approach to scalability, a real focus on security, and they're building a really cool, inclusive ecosystem. It's a project worth keeping an eye on.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. As we start to wrap things up here, what's one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember about Fantom?
The most important thing to remember is that Fantom is more than just a faster or cheaper blockchain. It's a platform that's designed to empower everyone, developers, businesses, individuals. It gives them the tools to create a more decentralized world.
That's a powerful thought. It's not just about the tech itself, it's about what it allows us to do.
Exactly. So I'd like to leave our listeners with this question. Given Fantom's speed and potential for growth, how could this technology impact industries we haven't even thought of yet? How could it change our lives in ways we can't even imagine?
That's a great question. It really makes you think about the possibilities.
It does.
Well, that's all the time we have for part 2 of our deep dive into Fantom. But don't worry, we'll be back soon to wrap everything up and share some final thoughts.
We'll be looking at the bigger picture. What does the rise of platforms like Fantom mean for the future of blockchain and the decentralized web?
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent quite a bit of time with Fantom, exploring its tech, the potential it has, and the community behind it all. Now it's time to zoom out a bit, look at the bigger picture. What does the rise of platforms like Fantom tell us about the future of blockchain and the whole decentralized web?
It's a great question to end on. We've covered Fantom's speed, its scalability, all those security measures. But honestly, what I'm most excited about is how it could disrupt those existing systems and empower people. Do you see this becoming more common in the future?
Oh, definitely. Fantom is just one example of a wave of blockchain projects that are really pushing the limits. We're moving past those early days of cryptocurrency and starting to see how blockchain can build a more decentralized and fair world.
It feels like blockchain's going from a financial tool to something that could change many parts of our lives.
Exactly. And we're seeing this shift happening across all kinds of sectors: finance, supply chain management, healthcare, even governance.
We touched on some challenges that Fantom faces, things like getting people to use it and figuring out regulations. Do you think those are just problems for Fantom, or are they bigger hurdles for the whole blockchain industry?
I think these are challenges that a lot of blockchain projects have to deal with. For any new tech to be successful, people need to adopt it. We've got to show that these blockchain solutions are more than just ideas. They're tools that can fix real-world problems.
It's about building that bridge between the blockchain world and, everyone else.
You got it. And that takes collaboration, education, a focus on user experience. We've got to make blockchain easy to understand for everyone, not just the techies.
And what about regulations? Do you think governments are keeping up with how fast blockchain's changing?
It's a tricky situation. Some governments are embracing blockchain, seeing what it can do. Others are more cautious.
It seems like we need clearer rules about how to regulate blockchain tech.
We do. Clear regulations help everyone. They encourage innovation and give businesses and investors that certainty they need. But we can't stifle creativity. We have to find the right balance.
So figuring out these regulations will be a big deal for projects like Fantom.
Absolutely. But it's not just about following rules. It's also about working with policymakers, helping them understand the good and the bad about blockchain.
So it's a team effort to create an environment that supports responsible innovation.
Exactly. It's about having those open conversations and working together to find solutions that are good for everyone.
Looking ahead, what trends in the blockchain world are you most excited about?
Interoperability is a big one. For blockchain to reach its full potential, all these different blockchains need to be able to talk to each other, work together without any problems.
It's like tearing down the walls between all those different blockchain worlds.
Exactly. That's what will let us build truly interconnected applications.
Are there any other trends catching your attention?
Sustainability. There's been a lot of talk about how much energy some blockchains use, but now we're starting to see more energy efficient ways of doing things.
It's great to see the industry tackling those environmental issues head on.
It is. It matters for the planet and for the future of the whole blockchain industry.
This has been a great conversation. As we wrap up our deep dive into Fantom, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
I'd say stay curious, keep exploring, don't be afraid to get involved. Blockchain's changing all the time. There are tons of chances to learn, to contribute, and to be a part of this tech that's changing the world.
That's great advice. Thanks for guiding us through this deep dive into Fantom.
It's been my pleasure.
We hope everyone listening found it as insightful as we did. Until next time, keep exploring.